everyone. We are here. We've made it. I think it's 11:01. I was only 1 minute late today, but I was getting everything set up for you. Oh, my bag of oatmeal is open here. Before we get started, I wanted to make sure that I put our handout today that we're talking about. I'm going to put the text part of it into the comments of this video so that if you don't have the printable, the PDF version yet, you'll at least have the word part to follow along. So let me do that really quickly here. I have it right next to me on my computer, so don't go anywhere. I want to make sure that if you want to follow along in our text that you can. So there we go. All right, we should be good to go. You should see that in the comments now. I also included my email address if you'd like the printable PDF version, which some of you already requested. You can just email me and I'm happy to just send that to you so you can have this printable that you can refer to. Now let's get started. Our topic today, as you may have seen, our heart healthy nutrition topic, of course. That's what class we are in today. I didn't even welcome you yet. Welcome. This is our heart healthy nutrition class here on Facebook. My name is Melissa. I'm HealthAware's registered dietitian and personal trainer. So our topic today is sodium and heart health, of course. So I have our handout today that I'm going to be going through. I've got lots of food examples to show you and illustrate as we go throughout our handout. Got a notification on my phone. Get that out of the way. All right, so let's get started. When it comes to heart health, managing your dietary intake of sodium, more commonly referred to as salt, can be an important factor. Your body does need some sodium, but eating too much can cause your body to hold on to extra water. This excess water can raise your blood pressure and can cause damage to your heart as it's forced to work harder. For some people, the extra fluid causes the hands, legs, or belly to swell. For others, the extra water can be held around the heart and lungs, making it hard to breathe. That's the more extreme cases. If you're a regular person that doesn't have a medical diagnosis of high blood pressure or other heart diseases, you can often still feel the effects of eating a high sodium diet. So the next time you eat a high sodium, a high salt meal, weigh yourself the next day and you'll likely be a pound or more heavier than you usually are. Very interesting how sodium has that effect on our bodies. For heart health though, the bottom line is this. If you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, it's important to manage the amount of salt in your diet, even if you're taking a medication to keep your blood pressure under control. So we've got a few extra details within this low sodium diet. What is it? How do you do it? What does that even mean? What foods are low sodium and high sodium? So let's talk more specifically about some of these foods that I have. So what is a low sodium diet? That's the first thing we have to figure out, right? Typically, the goal of a low sodium diet is to keep your sodium intake, your salt intake, from food and beverages to below 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day. Reading nutrition labels on food packages and limiting your use of the salt shaker are critical to staying within the parameters of a low sodium diet. Following a low sodium diet doesn't necessarily mean that you have to eliminate all the foods that are high in sodium. You can still enjoy some of those foods. However, your serving size may need to be adjusted and you may need to be mindful. You really need to be mindful of the sodium content in the other foods that you're eating in a specific meal or throughout your day. Let's talk about those two important factors. First, reading nutrition labels. I I'm surprised to find the number of people that actually don't know how to read nutrition labels as a dietitian. And it's my job to help you do that. If you already know how to read and interpret the nutrition labels on food packages, that is great. If you don't, then let's start now to help you better understand and get a solid foundation of how to read those nutrition labels. When you read a nutrition label, let me put one up for you. Give you an example while we're talking. How's that sound? Where's my camera? There we go. Okay. Right there. Okay, I think you read that. So, when you read a nutrition label, first look at the serving size. Is that visible? There's our serving size. First look at the serving size. It's at the top of the nutrition label, usually. And there will likely be several servings within a package. So for this cereal box, for example, the serving size is not the entire package of food. Usually it is a smaller portion within the package. For smaller items, it may be the entire package, but that's why it's important to look at the serving size and see what that amount is. All the nutrients listed on the label including sodium, refer to that specific amount of food, not necessarily the entire package, that specific amount in the serving size. So if you eat more than one serving, you will get more sodium than the amount listed on the label, of course. Now, let's talk about the salt shaker. And we're going to talk more specifically about these foods later in this discussion, okay? But now I want to talk about the salt shaker. And I forgot my prop, so I'm gonna step 6 feet that way and grab it. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's talk about our salt shaker. This is our salt shaker, okay? One problem with using a salt shaker is that we usually have no idea how much salt we're actually using. Just a few shakes over your plate, a few shakes, that can mean a variety of things for different people, might add way more sodium than you think. How much sodium do you think is in a teaspoon? That's what we're doing right now. I'm gonna measure out a teaspoon for you. You can see this, okay, small amount. In 1 teaspoon of salt, okay, this amount of salt, how much sodium do you think is contained in this amount? This amount probably will season maybe a pot of soup, a small pot of soup, maybe some different types of salad dressing recipes, or other types of salads if you're using not just lettuce, of course. So this 1 teaspoon, did you guess? Think of it in your mind. There is 2,300 milligrams of sodium in this 1 teaspoon of salt. That is a lot of sodium. In case you forgot, your daily goal on a low sodium diet is 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams a day. This is over that amount, all right? If you have high blood pressure or other conditions, we really want to stay well below this amount, the 2,300. I want to put this down before I fling it everywhere. Okay, there we go. Many of our foods contain sodium already, so adding even more with a salt shaker can send you way over your daily limit. How do we reduce sodium in our diet? I have a nice list of tips in the comment section and on my handout that I typed out for all of us. Tips for reducing sodium in the diet. There are many ways. Sodium is hidden in a lot of foods. So of course, the first thing to do is start reading a nutrition label that we already talked about. That is one of the biggest things to start doing. You don't know. Very good. Yeah, so Lindy says that we don't own a salt shaker, and that is a great practice to have. Maybe have salt nearby for whatever recipes that you have, but a salt shaker, not even having one, that's a great strategy to use. It's really easy to be tempted to shake it over all your food. Sometimes even before you taste it, That was always a pet peeve of mine. Why are you salting your food when you haven't even tried it yet? Now, I want to say eating a lower sodium diet, for people who are used to eating a high sodium diet, it does not taste very good at the beginning. However, our bodies are miraculous, wonderful things, and as you continue to eat a low sodium diet, reducing the salt in your diet, your taste buds adapt and you get used to a lower amount of salt in your foods. So if you are used to salting, what should we say? If you're used to eating a high sodium pasta sauce, for example, if you switch to a lower sodium one, it's not going to taste as good. It's not going to have as much flavor at first. But the more you eat that same pasta sauce, the lower sodium version, it will start to taste completely flavorful to you. Maybe not a no salt added one. But lower sodium versions start tasting normal to your taste buds. And then when you try a higher salt version, it's way too salty for you. So if you're trying to switch to a lower sodium diet, I want to encourage you, don't get frustrated at the beginning because your taste buds are able to adapt. It just does take a little bit of time. I would give it a few weeks and you should be able to be completely fine with lower sodium versions of things. Okay, off that soapbox now. So let's talk about some tips, more specific tips for reducing sodium. So first of all, we have reading the labels, but then next, eating more fresh foods and fewer of the processed foods. Fresh fruits and vegetables are naturally very low in sodium, as are frozen fruits and vegetables, the ones that don't have added sauces and juices with them. So the majority of frozen vegetables, frozen fruits are okay. Make sure you read the label to make sure they don't have added sodium. But in general, the basic frozen vegetables and fruits don't have anything added into them. And any fresh piece of fruit and vegetable, it doesn't have a very much sodium in it at all. You can really eat probably an unlimited number of fresh fruits and vegetables without going over your sodium limit in a day. You could probably not eat enough of fresh fruits and vegetables to go over your sodium limit, okay? I mean, don't try that, but I'm pretty sure you couldn't even get enough in your stomach. So if you choose to eat meat, fresh meats are lower in sodium than the processed meats like bacon, sausage, and hot dogs. You probably already knew that, but just to reiterate that, those processed meats, sodium-wise and just health-wise in general, are not the best choices for us. Now, not all processed foods are unhealthy or high in sodium, so it's important to read the label to determine which options are best. So I've got a couple here, they're all sort of scattered, but I wanted to give you some examples. So we've got Fritos chips. If you read the sodium, the serving size the serving size in these chips is the entire package. But you'll notice that the sodium amount in this small amount of chips is 170 milligrams of sodium. That's about 1/10 already of your daily sodium goal if you're trying to follow a low sodium diet. So that one, the chips, crackers, those are ones that you do have to be careful with most of the time. Now, how about fruit snacks? Most of us probably wouldn't consider fruit snacks a healthy food on the spectrum of healthy foods to unhealthy foods. When we're talking about sodium, though, it's really tiny. I don't know if you can read that. In this package, there's only 10 milligrams of sodium. These are very low sodium foods. Very low sodium. How about something like marshmallows, sweets? These are Trader Joe's marshmallows. Okay? These are not a health food. Okay, just in case you're wondering. In 2 marshmallows, I don't know if you can read that. In 2 marshmallows, there's a super low amount of sodium as well. Only 20 milligrams of sodium. So each marshmallow only contains 10 milligrams of sodium. Very low. But these are a highly processed, not necessarily healthy food. And then we go over to things like nuts. So a lot of people snack on nuts. Unsalted versions of nuts have 0 sodium in them. But as far as snack foods go, these aren't processed, but snack food wise, most people get the regular salted peanuts, cashews, whatever, mixed nuts. Nuts have a lot of sodium in them. We'll see later, I'll show you a list up on the screen a little bit later. Salted nuts, really high in sodium, and most of us eat not just a few, right? Do I have any other processed foods in here? Okay. All right, so the next tip now, moving on, is add flavor to your food without adding sodium or salt to your food. So there are so many flavorings besides salt to give your food flavor and a vibrant taste. So lemon juice, lime juice, or vinegar, any of those acidic type of foods, they almost give a salty type of taste, but it's not salt. So balsamic vinegar, for example, there we go. Balsamic vinegar, just plain vinegar, this is what I often use on my salads as a salad dressing. Balsamic vinegar has a very tart, tangy, it's almost salty, but when you look at the nutrition label, see if you can see that, the sodium amount is so low. Does it say 0? 5 milligrams. Where's my screen? 5 milligrams of sodium. So low. And yet this has almost that high taste, salty flavor to it. So vinegars are one of my favorites to use to amp up flavor of different foods. Using dried or fresh herbs can help enhance flavors of everything you're cooking. I have a list of some of my favorites. So basil, bay leaves, dill, I love dill, rosemary, parsley, sage, thyme, paprika, cumin, that's one of my favorites as well. I also love cinnamon for the sweeter types of things, and nutmeg. So really experimenting more, using more of those fresh herbs, dried herbs. You can even try growing some of your own of the fresh herbs. That's a great way to give more flavor to foods without adding sodium at all. And spicy foods. I know a lot of people like hot sauce. I don't like spicy foods, but many people out there do. I live with someone who likes spicy foods. Hot sauce is not a low sodium food in general. Now, a few drops is not really going to cause that many issues, but most people that I see use hot sauce aren't adding just a couple drops. It's usually quite a large drizzle. So hot sauce does contain a decent amount of sodium. Like most of our condiments, it has quite a bit of sodium. So an alternative to that would be trying pepper or red pepper flakes or cayenne pepper rather than using the actual hot sauce itself. Another option to flavor foods is trying the sodium-free or salt-free seasoning blends. You can buy them these days. There's tons of options, or you can make your own at home if you would like. So a popular brand is Mrs. Dash. I know that is often served in hospitals, which people don't really like. However, if you go to a store, there's like 20 options of Mrs. Dash and other types of sodium-free seasoning blends. So that is a great way to go as well. Some of them even will tell you specifically what they taste best with, like various types of proteins or vegetables, different things like that, which is kind of helpful if you're trying to create new menus with lower salt. I wanted to show you, I'll show you later, but I was gonna show you the salsa, but that's in our list later. So then the next tip, the last tip on reducing sodium in your diet is to be a smart shopper. So look for food packages that say salt-free or sodium-free. These items, this is important, these items contain less than 5 milligrams per serving, okay? Per serving, don't forget about that. It is per serving, not necessarily the entire package. But salt-free and sodium-free are supposed to have less than 5 milligrams. I have an example of that for you. So you can see this can of tomatoes. Up at the top, it says no salt added. That one can be misleading when it says no salt added. Usually we like to see no salt or sodium free. So this one, because it says no salt added, it's allowed to have a little bit more sodium in it. But these canned tomatoes only have 15 milligrams of sodium per serving. If you were to find a can of tomatoes that said salt free, then that would mean it has less than 5 milligrams of sodium in it. This other option, this one on here doesn't say anywhere that it is low salt or salt free, no type of announcements like that on the package. So when you read the label, you can see 260 milligrams per serving. I think it's a half cup, right? Oh, it's a fourth of a cup. Oh my God. It's a lot of sodium. It's a lot of sodium, 260 milligrams in a fourth cup of this type of tomato. So when you're shopping, especially for the foods that are canned, so tomatoes and beans and canned vegetables, I recommend finding the no salt added or the sodium salt free versions, because there can be so much sodium in those types of products specifically, okay? Now, very low sodium products, sometimes they might say that on them, very low sodium. Those are allowed to contain 35 milligrams of sodium or less, so that's also very low. That's not a lot of sodium in there. Then the low sodium products. So I don't know if I have anything that says low sodium specifically on it, but a lot of products these days do say low sodium on the front of their package. They want you to think this has low sodium in it, this is a healthy food, and it is decently low, but low sodium is 140 milligrams or less. So that's about what, 10%, 15% of a low sodium diet for the day is 140 grams. So that's those low sodium products. Beware of items that say reduced salt or reduced sodium. Those can still have lots of sodium in them. It's just their marketing that they're trying to trick you, unfortunately, trick you into thinking that it's a low sodium or a healthy food. It can say reduced sodium on it, but it can still have tons. So as an example, maybe a frozen meal, frozen dinner, it could say reduced sodium on it. I can think of a specific brand that says that on the package, but it's a reduced sodium version of their high sodium version, but they're both still in that high sodium category, okay? Now I wanted to show you, I'll go through more of my products now. This is not part of, this is a chart that I made. It's not part of in the comment section, but if you would like a copy of this with the rest of the handout, this would be in the PDF version that I sent to you. Hopefully, it might be a little too shiny. I'll take it out of its cover for you. So this is a chart that gives you sort of the red light, green light, and yellow light type of foods. Let me see here if I can get it in the middle of the frame. This is too difficult. I'll come over here. Okay. Right there. So you can see these in the red are high sodium items. This is obviously not an all-inclusive list. This is also not brand specific. So some food items might have more or less sodium than I have listed here, but this is just a basic guide. So you can see some of the foods that have high sodium. So the bacon, the canned beans, bread items like bagels have actually quite a bit of sodium in them, which is surprising to a lot of people. Bread can have a lot of sodium. Our condiments like ketchup, pickles, soy sauce, if you notice 900 milligrams in a tablespoon of soy sauce, so high in sodium. Sauces and dressings, those kind of things tend to be very high in salt. Also some cheeses, cottage cheese tends to be very high in salt as well. Then in this yellow light section, this is more of the lower moderate, this is kind of the moderate range of sodium. So other types of canned vegetables, canned corn, canned green beans, that sort of thing, are decently high in sodium still, but not, it's what we classify as moderate. Certain types of cheeses are lower in sodium, like cheddar cheese, other types of bread products, English muffins, hot dog buns, those nuts I talked about, certain types of snack products, chips. Again, this is going to be really dependent on the brand that you purchase. Tortillas and salsa are also high in sodium, and canned tuna, which is often pretty surprising for people. I'm going to show you some specific brands that I have of different food items. And then we come down here into, I'm trying to get it lined up. Oh, there we go. Into the green section. So these are the low sodium foods. There we go. You can see brown rice is very low in sodium. White rice is actually even lower in sodium than brown rice is. Eggs are low in sodium. Certain types of fish as well. Milks are pretty low in sodium usually. Mustard is actually one of the condiments that's low in sodium-ish, but we're also talking about a teaspoon size amount. I don't know about you, but when I use mustard, I generally use more than a teaspoon. So you have to be really conscious of the food serving sizes. Unsalted nuts, very low in sodium. Oatmeal, super low in sodium, only 5 milligrams of sodium in oatmeal. Of course, we're talking about just the plain oats. So this is not the packaged oats that are in the little instant oatmeal packages. Those will have much more sodium in them. Oil has almost no sodium in it. Not that I'm recommending you eat a lot of oil, but as a low sodium diet goes, oil is not one of those foods that's going to be problematic. Peanut butter usually has some sodium in it. It really depends on the type you buy. There are no salt added peanut butters. And if you are okay eating those, then that would be the way to go. Air popped popcorn's pretty low as well, very low. Sweet potatoes are on the low side. That's actually in the vegetable realm. That's one of the higher vegetables, okay? Then there are certain types of cheeses actually. Swiss cheese is quite low in sodium. Tofu, low in sodium. Turkey, white bread, whoops, there we go. And I want to show you the bottom. Fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, super low in sodium. Almost every fresh fruit and vegetable is under 35 milligrams per serving. The potato, that sweet potato, is probably one of the few exceptions, okay? There's very few exceptions of vegetables and fruits that are much higher than 35 milligrams of sodium. So I wanted to show you some of my specific food items. So I've got some hamburger buns. You can see these ones here. In one bun, oh my goodness, that's really small. I'll come closer again. In one bun, regular sized bun, have to get this lined up. There we go. You can see that the sodium amount is 260 milligrams for the bun. If you think about the actual burger patty then, and the condiments, pickles, everything you're adding to a burger, that can add up to a lot of sodium. Even if you're making them at home, it can add up to a lot. And then if you have French fries on top of that are salted, tons of sodium. This is a pasta sauce. I wanted to show you this one. This is just a regular old low-fat tomato basil marinara pasta sauce. But when we look at it, a half a cup has 420 milligrams of sodium. Pasta sauces are notorious for being really high in sodium, and that is tons of sodium. How often, when you eat pasta, are you only having a half a cup of sauce with it? Yeah, most people will have more sauce than that, and that is so much sodium into your daily allotment. Salsa, the one I wanted to show you earlier. This salsa, this is a salsa verde from Trader Joe's. Different brands of salsa, of course, are going to contain different amounts, but in 2 tablespoons, that's not very much. Think about your chip and salsa habits. 2 tablespoons, probably most of us eat more than that in a serving. In 2 tablespoons, it contains, this salsa in particular, contains 290 milligrams of sodium in 2 tablespoons. It's a lot. Beans. Beans are another one. I told you to be careful about buying, trying to find the reduced sodium versions. The organic Trader Joe's versions of beans actually are lower in sodium, even though they don't advertise it anywhere on the front of their package. On the back, next to the nutrition label, you'll see it says low sodium, and they get away with that because the sodium amount in a half cup, you can see, is only 130 grams of sodium per serving. When I buy beans, I do typically rinse them off, even if they are a low sodium version. I wanted to also show you the oatmeal. So this is oats. A half a cup of oats, you can see here, contains super low amount of sodium. What is it, 5? 0. Oh, this one's 0. 0 grams of sodium in these plain rolled oats. So you can add your own salt to this to give it a little bit more flavor, or try using some other flavorings like cinnamon, that sort of thing. But this is a great option, great healthy carbohydrate, whole grain, and super low in sodium. Start looking through all of your different food items in your house, and you'll be surprised which ones have high sodium that you may not have even realized. So start doing that today. Take a look through your pantry, those pantry items for sure, and see where can you start making some healthier swaps to lower sodium versions. And that'll help you stay closer to your goal. Even for us who don't have high blood pressure diagnosis, it's good to be close to the 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day range if we can as well. No one likes walking around feeling like they're full of water from eating too much salt. So check out your food items, start making some healthy swaps, and hopefully can either help improve your blood pressure, keep your heart healthier, and just make you feel better overall. We've made it. I've showed you all of my show and tell. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in the comments and I'll be able to see those from now or into the recorded version of this. I'm happy to answer any questions, hear any feedback you have. Don't forget, if you'd like the PDF printable version of this, just email me. My email is in the comments and I will happily send it to you, the lovely color version. Until next time, I wish you all a happy Wednesday here today live. Thank you for watching live or recorded. And I will see you tomorrow for our strength training class at 9 a.m. Goodbye.